In the dystopian cyberpunk world of DreamWeb, reality is shaped by the DreamWeb, a plane of subconsciousness held in balance by 7 humans. These 7 are chosen at random and imbued with the power of a node, small orbs of floating energy. The personalities and inclinations of the person holding the node then change the shape of the web, creating times of prosperity and peace, poverty and war, innovation and progress, deterioration and destruction. But the key is, there's always a balance. Good and evil, light and darkness, a tug of war between the 7 nodes of power. When one of the 7 humans holding a node dies, the node then passes on to another person, and their characteristics begin to shape the DreamWeb. And this passing of the nodes and ebb and flow of the web has remained in balance since the beginning of everything, helped along by the keepers, denizens of the web who watch over and make sure that things don't swing too far in any one direction. However, the unthinkable has occurred. The 7 nodes have all passed to 7 humans who are twisted and evil, so the keepers decide to intervene, calling upon a human to be what they call the Deliverer, basically a keeper-ordained assassin. The Deliverer's mission is to kill the current 7 members and return the nodes to the DreamWeb before the web is permanently corrupted by evil and the world as we know it is completely destroyed. The man they've chosen for this mission is Ryan, a down-on-his-luck bartender who thinks he's going insane, prone to blackouts, dreams of the keepers feeding him instructions, and nightmares about the tasks he needs to perform. Is all of this real, or just a product of Ryan's slow descent into madness? To find out, we'll have to do a lot of clicking. DreamWeb was developed by Creative Reality and released for MS-DOS and Amiga platforms in 1994. Creative Reality was a British studio that started in the late 80s and are probably most well known for their 2000 Windows and PlayStation release, Martian Gothic Unification.
If anyone here was alive, would they have left the corpse lying in a corridor?
We'll get to that one someday. DreamWeb was their previous game, 6 years earlier, a point-and-click adventure with a top-down perspective that focuses on item hunting, puzzle solving, and some light combat? We'll get into how that works later. In 2012, the devs released DreamWeb as freeware, so now you can download it through ScumVM and play it on that platform. You can choose either the 3.5-inch floppy or the CD release for the English UK version. There's also English US, along with French, German, Italian, and Spanish translations of the CD version, and high and low res version of the manuals. You should definitely download the manuals. We'll come back to them later on as well. As you probably guessed from the introduction, you take the role of Ryan, a 26-year-old bartender who's been chosen by the keepers of the DreamWeb to save the world. Why Ryan? Your guess is as good as mine. He's a real squirrely dude, and to most of the people around him, he seems to be succumbing to bouts of paranoid schizophrenia, suffering from blackouts and memory loss, delusions and nightmares. He's just not in a good place. When we first start up the game, we get a quote from the Book of Revelations about the 7 angels pouring out vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. If you want to set a grim tone for your story, you can never go wrong with a quote from the Bible about God's wrath. Next, we're introduced to the keepers.
Keepers. The web of dreams is slowly unwinding. The 7 evil powers on Earth are joining forces. If they become too strong, the DreamWeb will be destroyed. Who will be the Deliverer?
Whoa, buddy, don't speak out of turn. That's not how we do things here.
Sorry. The Chosen Ones are becoming aware. If they discover their powers, they will become too strong.
Has the seed been planted?
Yes, it has grown strong and he is stirring. The time has come and I shall awaken him.
Apparently, the keepers like to transport their powers through common kitchen appliances. So we find Ryan in bed with his girlfriend, Eden. And yeah, despite all his shit, Ryan's managed to keep a steady girlfriend. The spirit orb blasts him into a ruined vision of the future, and a keeper speaks.
This is the future.
I know what you want from me. I understand now.
The 7 are becoming stronger.
They've haunted my dreams.
I know. They control the 7 points of the DreamWeb.
Must they be destroyed? I can feel they are all close to me. Who will be the first?
His name is Crane. He is the weakest of the 7.
How will I find him?
He is very near. Arm yourself and begin your search. Time is running short, my brother.
Damn, these opening credit drops. Where have I seen this before? Oh, yeah. Back in the apartment, Ryan's awake and fully clothed, and whoa, hello, Ryan. Yeah, get used to that. He's not going anywhere. We can speak with Eden, and the dialogue here is fully voiced by professional actors, boasts the back of the box. That asterisk there is just to say that the voices are only available in the CD version of the game, not on the 3.5-inch floppies. But being placed right after the professional actors phrase looks a bit dubious.
Eden, I feel terrible.
You're hot. You're soaking wet. You were dreaming again last night. It scares me when you shout out.
I thought the dreams had gone away, but last night they were worse than ever. And I don't think it's just bad dreams.
What do you mean, not just dreams?
It all seems so real and so vivid. My mind is telling me things that I don't want to do.
You have to stop talking like this. See a doctor. I'm worried about you.
Well, I mean, it's not the worst I've ever heard, but I don't know if I'd go so far as to call it professional. I mean, maybe they were, but yeah, these line readings are, they are what they are. Ryan's got a whiny quality to him that really makes me question the keeper's choice of making him their deliverer, and Eden sounds like she's 14. Also, it really bugs me that the voice acting doesn't match up with the dialogue on screen. I feel like this becomes less and less of a thing as the game goes on, but it's extremely noticeable right here in the beginning. Anyway, beyond the actual voice acting, there are things here that I like. First of all, Eden's concern for Ryan feels genuine. It's easy to see that she cares about him, and it's clear that Ryan relies on her for emotional support. Even though it's only a really short exchange, it's a good setup to the relationship between these two characters. I'm excited to see how the dynamics between them grow and change as the game goes on. Ryan needs to head to work, but he also needs to grab some items first. His wallet is on the desk. Can you see it? Come on, it's right there. There it is, that little mess of pixels, among the other messes of pixels. So it's helpful the game has what it calls a zoom box over in the bottom left corner. As you move the hand pointer over the environment, the area will be blown up in the zoom box, with various commands appearing on certain objects, like walk to, examine, and talk. It helps to mitigate pixel hunting somewhat, but you're still going to need to drag your cursor around to find stuff, and sometimes the items are really small, and it can be difficult to select the one you want. The zoom box can be toggled on and off by clicking the magnifying glass on the top right. Like most adventure games, there are a lot of descriptions and flavor text that explain items and give more information about the world. If you leave the game idle for a bit, or click on Ryan's eyes, you get a description of the current environment that you're in. It's a nice touch. You can also pick up and take a lot of items you find. You need to grab Ryan's wallet, but you can also take the lighter, the pack of cigarettes, each individual cigarette, a mug from the kitchen. You have spaces in your inventory spread across 3 pages, and if you're a pack rat, this will fill up quickly. But here's the thing, 95% of the items in DreamWeb are completely useless. This was kind of a shock as someone who's played their fair share of point-and-click games. I was stealing everything from Eden's, thinking that somewhere down the line this lighter or this slip of paper was going to prove useful, but none of it ever does. A little later on, I figured out that if you want to know if you'll actually need an item, you can click the use button when it shows you a description of it, and the game will say find a use for it or something like that, if it's actually an item you'll need. So anyway, grab Ryan's wallet, a network cartridge from the living room, more on those later, and then we need to check out the microwave. That little spirit ball fried it good, but inside Ryan finds a strange key. I also stole the lighter and a pack of cigarettes, but I felt a little bad, so I left one behind for Eden. Taking the elevator down, Ryan finds himself in Eden's garage. We need this screwdriver. We don't need this wrench. Honestly, this drove me a little bit batty. Why is the wrench even there if we're not going to use it? Couldn't they have found a use for this wrench in one of the game's puzzles? When you click the use button while looking at its description, it also says to find a use for it. So you'd think by that logic that it would be needed somewhere in the game. But it's not. Even on a second playthrough, when I knew not to take it, it always stuck out to me whenever I returned to this area. That wrench haunts me. As we leave Eden's, we get a look at the navigation screen, a moody shot of the city skyline. DreamWeb's presentation is top-notch. The actual gameplay graphics lack a bit of definition, but it really knows how to sell a vibe. As we saw earlier, DreamWeb really wears its Blade Runner inspiration on its sleeve. Almost literally, Ryan is pretty much wearing Deckard's coat. We've only got a few locales to check out right now, but this list will expand as the game continues. Clicking the piece of paper gives you descriptions of each place. For now, let's head back to Ryan's apartment. We have to enter a door code, which we can find on the list in Ryan's wallet. Ryan's place is a shithole compared to Eden's. He's got a knife just lying on his bed, which we'll need for later. There are also some interactive things you can do, like place a CD in the stereo, but unfortunately you just get a description that Led Zeppelin 4 is playing instead of the soundtrack changing. Would have been cool to hear a chiptune rendition of Black Dog, but copyright and all that. Speaking of the soundtrack though, it's really good. There aren't a lot of tracks, but the ones that are there fit the mood with really low-key, droney synths. This theme in Ryan's bedroom is the main one of the game. The one on the navigation screen is also a vibe. There's also this badass reggae-inspired track in one of Ryan's friends' apartments, whom we'll meet later. It does a great job of keeping you immersed in the world and the tone of the game's story. Now that we're back home, we can use the network terminal. You need to pop in a network cartridge to use it, but not the one we got from Eden's place. We won't need that one for a little while. There are several cartridges scattered around Ryan's room, but like other items in the game, most of them are useless. You need the one with important written on the label. Pop that cartridge into the slot, then use the monitor. From here, you'll see DOS-like prompts where you can type commands into the computer. I always like when games let you do stuff like this. It feels really tactile and helps with immersion. This is what the character's doing right now, after all. There are several things you can do on the network terminal, like check your mail, bank balance, and the news. The news is kind of neat because it gives you more information about what's going on in the world. And yeah, I'm just realizing how stupid that sentence sounds if you take it out of context. But I mean, for the game world. It also sometimes gives you foreshadowing to future events Ryan will be involved in. Ryan has a message from his boss telling him he's been fired, mainly because he's always late and his boss thinks he's a loser. He'll still provide a reference though. Gee, thanks. The most important thing you need right now are the door codes to Eden's and Ryan's friend Lewis's apartments. Eden told us that we're going to be late for work, and we've just been fired for always showing up late. But before actually heading to the bar Ryan works at, let's go visit Ryan's friend Lewis. When you enter Lewis's building, there's this big guy just gyrating in the corner. It's kind of hypnotizing, actually. Yo, what the fuck, dude? Ryan just gets like whipped in the face and knocked back right out onto the sidewalk. And then he takes his sneakers. So anyway, shoeless, Ryan heads into Lewis's apartment, and Lewis is in the middle of taking care of some business. We need to talk to him, and I thought Ryan would go over to the door and talk through it, but no, he just walks right in. I don't know how you Brits do it, but in the US, typically we don't barge in on our friends while they're dropping some mud. This conversation is so weird.
Hey, Ryan, how are you, man?
I feel pretty bad. I'll be alright, but I could use some help.
Help? What do you mean? I can't help with anything.
Look, I'm in deep trouble and there's some things I need and I think you can get them for me.
Sure. What are you looking for? Drugs?
Not today. I need a gun, and I don't know anyone who has one.
Ryan's like one of those people who are influenced by the speech patterns of those around them. This just stood out to me and reminded me of people in like high school who tried to imitate other people they thought were cool. I don't know if this was a conscious decision in the voice direction or it just kind of happened, but either way, it kind of works for Ryan's character. He lacks confidence and is a bit milquetoast in a lot of his interactions, but he tries to have this sort of swagger in front of Lewis, even though he's found the dude just passed out on his toilet. By the way, your legs okay, Lewis? Mine would be dead asleep if I was sitting on the john that long. So anyway, Ryan needs a gun, and Lewis knows a guy who runs the local pool hall who's into that sort of stuff. So Lewis tells Ryan to take his membership card and give them his name when he gets there. We also need to solve Ryan's shoe problem, and luckily, before Lewis passed out on the crapper, he kicked his shoes off across the bathroom floor. So Ryan just takes them, and Lewis has nothing to say about this. We have to take and equip each shoe one at a time, which is fine, I guess, but seems completely unnecessary. The pool hall membership card is in Lewis's desk, but before Ryan heads over there, he's gonna need some money. So we head to Sparky's bar and find a bum sleeping outside. There's no reason to talk to him, but if you do, Ryan just yells at him.
Hey, wake up! Can you hear me?
Ryan, dial it back, dude. Inside, Ryan speaks with his boss, Sparky.
Hey, Ryan. Did you get my MailNet message?
No, sorry. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. No problem at all.
Really?
Yeah, you're fired. If you'd bothered to read my message, you would have known by now.
Well, technically, I did read the MailNet message and already knew that I'd been fired, but this conversation can't play out any other way, which brings me to another gripe I have with DreamWeb. There are no dialogue options. You've just got to be along for the ride with Ryan's bumbling disposition. According to one of the game's developers, dialogue trees were never considered as part of the design because he didn't like them. Fair enough, I guess, but it definitely narrows player agency in a game like this, and you really feel it throughout some of the conversations. Like here, for example, where I, the player, read the message, but apparently Ryan was just zoning out while I did that. It sometimes gives you a weird disconnect between what you've done while playing the game and what the character has done in the game world. Sparky takes pity on Ryan and decides to give him another chance. He says to take a couple weeks off and straighten himself out, and then come back to work. Man, all Ryan's done is bitch about this guy, but Sparky's like one of the best bosses I've ever seen. And then Ryan has the gall to ask for 2 weeks' wages up front when he's not even going to be working, and Sparky gives them to him. Man, maybe you are just a loser, Ryan. Sparky's solid. Another trigger to moving things forward in this place is speaking to the other guy sitting at the bar.
Mind if I sit next to you?
You're already sitting there.
Do what you like. I don't care.
Thanks. What's on the TV?
Oh, it's a program about that singer, David Crane.
What about him?
He's playing some concert with him tonight. Just arrived in town.
Where's he staying?
At a hotel called the Regency. Hey, what is this anyway? What's all the questions?
Oh, no reason. The Regency is that big place near the bridge, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, now why don't you just shut up and leave me alone?
This is like the most realistic conversation in the whole game. Did they just find this guy in a local pub to do the voice acting for the bar patron? There's also an important piece of info here. If you remember, Crane is the name of the first person Ryan needs to kill for the Keepers. David Crane is a rock star, currently passing through the city on tour, and he's staying at the Regency Hotel. You can talk to the other people in the bar, but they don't really have anything to say. Ryan bothers the dude playing video games.
I'm trying to concentrate. Just leave me alone.
Then he tries to wake up the drunk at the table.
Hey! Wake up, I need to talk to you. Come on, wake up. I really need some help. Oh, forget it.
God, Ryan's such an asshole. Over at the pool hall, he uses Lewis's card to enter and tells the bartender he needs a gun, so he's directed to Mr. Silverman in the back office. Again, we can talk to some other patrons in the pool hall, but they also don't have much to say.
The man watches me as I approach, and he doesn't seem too pleased that I've chosen to speak to him.
I don't think many people are, Ryan.
Like most of the people here, he's wearing just jeans and a shirt.
Sorry we can't all be such dapper dressers. Ryan just goes around yelling "wake up" at anyone who's just slightly dozing off. Maybe he's got a reputation around town. No wonder he got whipped in the face and robbed earlier. When we meet Mr. Silverman, his voice does not fit the description Ryan gives.
The pool hall owner sits behind his desk and puffs on a large cigar. He wears an off-white shirt and blue waistcoat. He drums his fingers on the desk in an irritated manner. He looks as if he doesn't trust me.
Good evening. My name is Silverman. What's yours?
Oh, My name is Ryan and I need your help. Lewis King is a friend of mine and he said you would have what I want.
Your friend Lewis was right. I can usually help people out, providing they have enough money.
This guy's a total sweetheart for an illegal arms dealer. Maybe this misreading of people is a product of Ryan's paranoid mental state. So Ryan buys a laser gun, just a little pistol from Silverman, and now he has all he needs to head to the hotel and deal with his first target, David Crane. Before we go there, it's about time I mention one of the supplemental materials that comes with a physical copy of the game, The Diary of a Madman. Or Madman, as it's stylized on the cover. You can download it on the Scum VM page, and it's a recommended read before you start playing DreamWeb. This is a diary written from the point of view of Ryan about events leading up to the beginning of the game. I waited until now to bring it up because I wanted to contrast how the diary presents characters and events with how the game presents them. So Ryan bought a nice leather-bound notebook to record his thoughts, though he mentions right away that he will never write about his nightmares. Never! And he goes on for a couple paragraphs about why he's writing the diary. Not the actual reason why he's doing it, but this existential pondering about who he's writing to and whether some stranger in the future may read it long after he's dead, in a remote future epoch, 10, 20, 1,000 years from now. Man, I've seen TikTokers who are less self-important. It's a long diary, too, about 43 pages. We find out that Ryan and Eden have been together since college, that she currently works for a PR agency, and that their relationship is a bit more complicated than the small glimpse we got in the beginning of the game would lead us to believe. There's a push and pull, with Ryan going through bouts of loving and needing her to not wanting her around. Eden also needs a break from him every once in a while, and I mean, who wouldn't? Guy goes around just shouting at people while they're trying to get some sleep.
Hey, wake up. Can you hear me?
Ryan even ends up seeing a prostitute named Angel during one interval when Eden isn't accepting his calls. He writes about seeing David Crane, the rock star, on TV and noticing an expensive watch he's wearing. Then, during a meeting with Angel, he recognizes that she's wearing the same watch, and he asks her about the bruises on her body, knowing that David Crane was the one who gave them to her. Another important detail Ryan mentions is the spate of serial killings that are gripping the city. You can read about this in the game world on the Newsnet as well. The media has dubbed the killer the dealer, since he leaves playing cards on his victims. Also, because Ryan suffers from blackouts and delusions, Eden begins to suspect, without saying as much, that Ryan may be the killer, especially since Ryan keeps talking in his sleep, or more accurately, screaming in his sleep about God and the devil and, well, killing people. Her suspicions and temporary absences from his life send Ryan into a state of paranoia. As his mental state breaks down, so does his handwriting and the coherence of his diary entries. He talks about Santa Claus telling him to kill people, which eventually turns from Santa Claus into men in red robes. In a moment of clarity, he admits that he feels sorry for himself, but he also doesn't feel the need to lash out at the world in a fit of angst about it. If I'm a loser, it's because I played the cards I was dealt badly, not because I was dealt bad cards. A lot of the writing is heavy-handed and melodramatic, but there are certain passages, like this one, that are profoundly thoughtful and show a depth to Ryan's character that doesn't come across in the game. It takes a lot of emotional maturity and self-reflection to be able to come to that kind of realization about your status in life. There are several mentions of God and the devil and how Ryan feels like it isn't a coincidence that the prostitute he met is named Angel. At one point, he's drawn to a church at night on the outskirts of the city. The doors have been left wide open and, in an almost trance-like state, he enters. As he walks through the darkened cathedral, he hears footsteps behind him that stop every time he stops, and he feels a presence watching him in the darkness. At first, he's frozen in fear, but then his fight or flight kicks in and he runs headlong into that darkness. And he writes that it seems to part as he enters it. He finds himself running out of the church, and as he exits, he catches a glimpse of a man running away out of the corner of his eye, dressed in a dark suit, with a playing card sticking out of his pocket. These details about the church and the serial killer will come up later in the game. Near the end of the diary, Ryan writes about how he hasn't left the apartment for some time, and has carved the title, Diary of a Madman, into the leather cover of his journal, with his fingernails. Ugh. He also mentions that spiders are congregating in his room. Eden at one point mentions seeing a few earlier on during a visit, and all these spiders have begun to weave webs everywhere, in the corners of the room, on the floor, across the pillow on his bed. This is interesting because, yeah, his apartment is a sty, but there aren't any spider webs to be seen during the actual game. A discrepancy from the developers? or a hint that Ryan may not be the most reliable narrator. It's also probably not a coincidence that there are spider webs on his pillow. This whole diary really opens up the narrative and presents the idea that the DreamWeb, the Keepers, Ryan's mission, it could all just be a delusion created by his paranoid mind. The fact that Eden suspects him of the killings, his blackouts, memory loss, nightmares, hearing what could have been his own footsteps in the church, seeing the killer out of the corner of his eye, the ambiguities go on and on. There's a lot more to this diary, but I think I've covered the major points, and it helps to flesh out how Ryan makes this turn from wishy-washy main protag to a guy who's buying a gun and going to a hotel to murder a rock star without really a second thought. I'm not saying it works completely to fill in the blanks in character development. Some of the more paranoid passages in the diary don't really match up to the way Ryan acts in the game. The diary was written by Stephen Marley, who's credited for props design in the game manual. He's a British author who has dabbled in video games, a scriptwriter for Warhammer Dark Omen, and also designer and dialogue writer for Creative Reality's Martian Gothic Unification, which I mentioned in the beginning of the video. But it feels like the game and the diary were written completely separately, with little crossover between the details of the two. I feel like there could have been more the game did with Ryan's thoughts and dialogue to help tie the two together, but it is an interesting way to help establish things. Practically speaking, you also get Ryan's door code and network password from the last page. Anyway, back to the game. In the lobby of the hotel, you can talk to some David Crane superfans.
Oh, hello. We're waiting for David Crane. Don't you just love him? I've been to all his gigs and I've got all his albums.
Well, actually...
You know, I've even got his early stuff. He spat on me at a concert once. God, it was great.
What? Ryan asks for a room in the hotel, but the room keys only allow you to go directly to the floor you're staying on. So Ryan straight up asks what floor Crane is staying on, and the receptionist just tells him. That was easy. So he gets a room on the floor directly below. In the hallway, Ryan takes an axe from the fire point on the wall, then uses his knife on the elevator controls to open them and cut the wires. The elevator is now stopped, so he climbs out the hatch at the top and uses the axe to pry the doors to the next floor open. There are two guards waiting on the other side of the elevator doors. And here's where we get our first taste of combat. Time freezes, giving you a moment to get a sense of your surroundings. It only lasts for a few seconds. After that, you need to act. Ryan is holding the axe, so I figured all I needed to do was click on an enemy to initiate some kind of attack, but this doesn't do anything. The game over screen is pretty grim, talking about how the world was fucked after Ryan died because he didn't save the DreamWeb. Bummer. Anyway, it took me a few attempts to figure it out, but you have to open the inventory by clicking on Ryan, select the axe, and then click the use icon. Now you need to open the inventory again and use the gun to fire and kill the other guard. It's pretty clunky. Having to open the menu and select use really takes you out of the situation. Ryan is already holding the weapon. Wouldn't it make more sense to just have the icon turn into an axe and click on the guard? I get having to open the menu to swap to the gun then, but after that, having a gun icon you need to click on the other enemy would make these encounters a bit more exciting. But this is how it is, so combat, not really a thing in DreamWeb. Anyway, head further into the hotel suite and oh no, not again with this pixelated nudity. I had to go through enough shit to get the Dead of the Brain video past the YouTube censors last time. Well, at least it's not as bad as the original floppy UK version. In that one, Crane isn't wearing any underwear and you can see his little 4-pixel penis. This caused a bit of controversy when the game was first released too. Guess they don't call them floppies for nothing. Ha! Afterwards, Ryan pops Crane, and the power node bursts out of his chest like a xenomorph and transports Ryan to the DreamWeb.
The power released from the human Crane has entered the DreamWeb. His life energy must be consumed by the web. Use the key of the ancestors to unlock the power. We have a long way to go. The remaining 6 are becoming stronger.
I can feel it.
They are recruiting more followers, becoming stronger and joining forces.
Who will be next?
His name is Sterling. He commands the largest armed force on Earth. He is in a great position of power and must be destroyed.
So Ryan gets his next target, the leader of the greatest armed forces on Earth. Quite a step up from a rock star. But apparently Ryan's got this. Whatever you say, bud. Behind one of the doors, it's the only one that will open for you in this short series of hallways, Ryan finds a plinth with a keyhole. Inserting the mysterious key that he found in Eden's microwave causes the plinth and the floor around it to crumble, and Ryan wakes up in an alleyway back in reality. One of the evil ones has been defeated. 6 more to go. Now that I've covered the opening of the story and all the review-y bits about gameplay and presentation, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the rest of the story. If you want to try this game out for yourself and don't want to be spoiled, click to this time, or use the chapter select to go to the conclusion and get my final thoughts. All I'll say is the game takes a turn in the second half, so if you jump to the end, you might be surprised by what I have to say, especially considering everything I've talked about up until now. But yeah, if you don't care about all that and want to keep watching, then just keep watching. Okay, here we go. So Ryan wakes up in an alleyway and makes his way back to his apartment. Checking Newsnet on the terminal reveals that the head of Middle East operations for the government, General Sterling, is going to appear on a live studio broadcast on Channel 6. There are concerns over Sterling's handling of military operations in the Middle East, as well as human rights violations going on there. You don't say. Ryan needs to enter Channel 6 studios to get access to Sterling, but the place is heavily guarded by military personnel. Around the back entrance, however, is a single, old security guard. Of course, he explains the same thing that the soldiers out front explained, that no one is allowed inside.
The military have closed us down for the day. No one has an appointment.
And that's just Ryan putting on an old man voice.
You must have made a mistake. I can take your name and book you in for tomorrow if you like. Why is the TV station shut down? Military General Sterling has a special live TV interview this afternoon about the Middle East. I see. Well, thanks anyway. Goodbye, sir.
So it seems like there's no way past this guard. I tried checking out some of the other locations in the city, but no one has any answers. And I gotta say, this stumped me. I had to look up a walkthrough to find out what to do, but the intended course of action is to kill the old security guard, which is kind of a shocking turn for Ryan's character. It takes him very quickly from someone who is carrying out these assassinations against quote-unquote evil people to someone who will murder innocents in cold blood to get to his target if they stand in his way. Again, it's another place where the gameplay doesn't match up with the characters in the story. I just didn't think the solution to this old man blocking Ryan's path would be to straight up shoot him. Ryan makes his way into the studio and finds a pass card underneath a brochure on a reception desk, which is a neat little bit of investigative work, having to pick up something in the environment to reveal a key item. I like that detail. With pass card in hand, Ryan makes his way up to a catwalk above the stage where Sterling and an interviewer are sitting. There are some winch controls for lighting equipment, but the fuse is blown. Using the pass card to enter a storeroom, Ryan uses the screwdriver from Eden's garage to open a fuse box and find a new fuse. After replacing the blown fuse with the new one, Ryan uses the winch controls to move the lighting equipment and drop them on Sterling. Again, the power node appears, and Ryan is once again transported to the DreamWeb. The Keeper tells Ryan that the remaining 5 are aware of Ryan's presence, and they've chosen a leader named Sartain, a wealthy businessman. The Keeper also tells Ryan that someone close to him may have access to Sartain. He mentions that there's a crystal in the DreamWeb that will help Ryan with his next task, so Ryan grabs the crystal and uses his key on the next plinth to return to reality. This time, he wakes up on the sidewalk outside Sparky's bar. The bum is gone, probably tired of being harassed by Ryan every time he comes by, and Ryan takes one of the empty bottles for later. The Keeper mentioned that someone close to Ryan may know more about Sartain, and the best person I can think of is Eden, especially with her work at the PR agency. Now remember when I said, even though it's only a really short exchange, it's a good setup to the relationship between these two characters. I'm excited to see how the dynamics between them grow and change as the game goes on. Well, since Ryan has changed to a full-on murderer, I was expecting some interesting back and forth between him and Eden, some kind of conversation dancing around Ryan's recent actions and the changes in his mental state that she's seen recently. But when Ryan enters Eden's apartment, she's not there. In fact, she's completely disappeared from the game and never comes back. I gotta say, this is a huge disappointment. They laid a solid foundation in the diary and in the opening scene for some character drama here, and just did absolutely nothing with it. I'll come back to talking more about this later on, but for now, Ryan checks the organizer on Eden's bed and finds Sartain's contact information inside. Back in Ryan's apartment, he swaps out the network cartridge for the one he picked up at Eden's in the beginning of the game, and this contains a code to enter Sartain Industries. Since he's already got the address, Ryan heads there, but a security computer blocks further access into the building. Ryan takes care of that easily enough, though. After exiting the elevator, Ryan is confronted by some goons who are ready to blow him away as another tries to escape with a briefcase. Activating the crystal that he found in the DreamWeb creates a barrier that allows Ryan to reflect their shots back, and he jibs all of them. The documents inside the briefcase reveal the identities of the 4 remaining members of Project 7, as they refer to themselves. Beckett hasn't been located. His power is stronger than the other members, but he's mentally unstable and volatile. Miss Underwood has been taken to a boathouse, loaded up with an advanced security system, and Ryan discovers its location through reading this document. Father O'Rourke, a priest, is also in a secure location, but the document goes on to say that he will reach transition stage before any of the others. The doctor who wrote this report, who I'm assuming Ryan just splattered all over the floor, examined O'Rourke recently and found evidence of mutation in his cell structure, and that he's approaching successful transformation. Juliet Chapel is actually going to be killed by the other members because they perceive her as a weak link, and Ryan finds Chapel's address as well. He's got his next 2 targets now, so the only thing left to do is take care of Sartain, who's attempting to escape in some kind of aircraft. Jesus, that little laser gun packs a punch. Back in the DreamWeb, the Keeper suggests visiting Chapel, as Ryan may be able to turn her against the Project 7. But Ryan asks what to do if she's already dead, and the Keeper just says, well, I guess nothing then. Just go after Underwood. After using his key on the plinth, Ryan wakes up in a car park and picks up a set of wire cutters before leaving. By now, you've seen enough to realize the loop of the game. Discover the location of a target, it appears on the navigation screen, head there, solve a simple puzzle, eliminate the target. But this leads me to a larger problem with the game. I started to get into this when talking about how Eden just disappears, but beyond that, the state of the game world never changes. You can check Newsnet on Ryan's terminal to get some updates about his killings, but character and world growth are non-existent. You can go back to the bar, to Lewis's, to the pool hall, all the locations they introduced in the beginning, but nobody has much of anything different to say about what's going on. Lewis moves from the toilet to the recliner. Sparky says he's a little bit worried about Ryan. The drunks at the bar still don't want to talk, and again, Eden's gone. You don't need to talk to any of these people anymore. Just move from target to target until the end of the game. It makes the whole world feel really empty. There's just so much missed potential here. The setup is really good and hints at a larger world with so many directions. Even something like the alleyway, where Ryan wakes up after killing Crane. The description of that area reads that it's a twisting maze. It sounds like a whole world unto itself, but in the actual game, it's 2 screens. DreamWeb initially feels like a vast cyberpunk world, but it ends up being a linear jog from objective to objective with absolutely nothing in between. All that atmosphere and sense of possibility from the beginning is snuffed out by this point. It's a real shame. The next 4 targets also get grouped together in pairs before return trips to the DreamWeb as well. When you head to Chapel's house, she's already been killed. The house was blown up, with her inside, supposedly by the other members of Project 7. So anything interesting that the Keepers hinted at with her turning to Ryan's side is literally obliterated. Ryan finds a charred network cartridge that we'll need in the next segment, and afterwards Ryan heads to the boathouse, where he solves a simple puzzle to overload the security system using the empty bottle that he picked up outside of Sparky's when he woke up there. The security bot blows up, and the explosion ends up dismembering Underwood. Ryan talks to her before she dies, and she mentions that O'Rourke's transformation is almost complete.
Where are the others?
As if I tell you, O'Rourke is growing. Soon he'll be too strong.
But other than that, there's nothing meaningful in their conversation, so Ryan just shoots her. And after he's transported to the DreamWeb, there's this weird message on the phone.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. This is a recording.
I thought maybe somebody, like another one of the Project 7, were listening in or something, but don't worry, nothing ever comes of that. The Keeper says Beckett, the strongest of the 7 apparently, is a violent psychopath, and that Father O'Rourke has almost completed his transformation. Again, Ryan asks what to do if O'Rourke is already transformed by the time he gets to him, and the Keeper says, yeah, well then just go after Beckett. Foreshadowing much? So yeah, after checking the charred cartridge that he picked up from Chapel's house, Ryan finds the location of a church, St. Septimus, on the outskirts of town. The same church Ryan wrote about in his diary, though he doesn't make much mention of it in-game other than saying, oh yeah, that was the name of that place. Not like, wait, that's where I had that strange experience with the darkness and I thought I caught a glimpse of the serial killer following me. Nope, none of that. So, off to the church, using the wire cutters he found in the car park to cut the chain on the gate. Wire cutters? To cut a chain? Really? Upon entering the church, Ryan finds human remains and takes the hand. Hey Ryan, whatever you're into, buddy. After that, Ryan moves the altar out of the way and finds a passage beneath the church. He needs to collect some gems to place in indentations in the ground to open the way forward, and then pick up 8 rocks throughout this place. There's also this symbol puzzle. You just have to try the combinations to match up the right symbol to open another path forward. Nothing much to this. Ryan puts all the rocks in a cart and pushes it to break through a wall. This underground passage isn't that structurally sound if 8 rocks in a cart can break through a wall. And of course, inside O'Rourke has already transformed into a mound of flesh in a scene looking straight out of Hellraiser. There's even a fleshy tunnel that resembles a human organ. Wonder which one that is. So again, another target is written out of the game instead of having some interesting puzzle or set piece to go along with it. I will say, whatever the hell's going on here with what happened to O'Rourke is really interesting. I wish they would have done something with it. Wouldn't it have been awesome if Ryan would have had to go down that tunnel and find O'Rourke in this weird, like, flesh dimension? But, oh well, that's that, I guess. On to Beckett. Anyway, at the end of this path, Ryan finds a subway platform, and as he follows the tracks, there's some rubble on the side, and stepping through, Ryan comes face to face with Beckett, the dealer, the serial killer who's been haunting the city.
The king and the queen are dead. Just the Joker remains, but not to save the day. It seems that you have defeated us. The web is almost balanced. I have lived a tortured life, so many victims, so many I have saved. I have never reached my potential. I have been waiting for you, Ryan. The other 6 have moved on, as we all will. But first, you must die.
And how does our hero deal with this confrontation? He's turned from a nervous, paranoid everyman to a calculating, extra-dimensional assassin. So, he backs away and flattens against the subway wall. Beckett approaches and just obliviously steps in front of a moving train. Fucking great. Back in the DreamWeb, the Keepers thank Ryan for saving the world and tell him he's going to have to deal with the consequences of that now. In reality, the police have surrounded Ryan's apartment.
Halt! This is the police. Put down your weapon and walk slowly towards us. If you do as we say, you will not be harmed.
Quite the dark ending, and one that leaves you wondering, was Ryan actually the killer and everything else was just in his head? Or is this really the end result of him popping off powerful people in the world so the Keepers could restore balance? We don't know. And that laugh in the ending track, is it just a sample that loops with the beat? Or is it the game laughing at us because we'll never know the truth? Or because we played through this entire game and hardly got any payoff? In the end, DreamWeb ends up being a world that feels more expansive than it actually is. Even by 1994 standards, this is pretty bare bones. While it introduces you to potentially interesting characters and locations, they're often only important for one scene, if that, and then get left by the wayside as the game marches you forward from objective to objective. The only mechanically interesting assassinations that Ryan takes part in are in the beginning of the game. After that, it's either just a simple path from point A to point B, or a matter of happenstance with how you take care of your targets. It makes the game feel hollow. There was so much promise here. They sketched out a really intriguing setting and story, but they just didn't do anything to make the player feel like they were filling in the details. The world has that cyberpunk feeling, helped along by the descriptions of locations, the chunky pixel art, and the atmospheric music. But there's just nothing to explore or interact with outside of your main objectives in the game. I couldn't find much information about the game's development, but it feels like they maybe ran out of time, or maybe this was the vision. There was that blurb I found about one of the lead devs not liking branching dialogue, so maybe they just wanted to tell this very straightforward tale. I don't know. Either way, it leaves me feeling like the world of DreamWeb is incomplete. We only get to see a fragment of what could have been. There was promise here, and the diary of a madman that's included will give you a more nuanced look at the world and some of the central characters, but the game itself leaves a lot to be desired. If anything, it's a short game that's heavy on atmosphere, so it's neat to check out and not too difficult to navigate your way through if you want. Or if you sat through this whole video, I'm pretty sure you've gotten everything out of it that you'll need to. But you know what? Come to think of it, the game never solved the one mystery that I was really dying to know about. Who the hell were those guys who stole Ryan's sneakers? So that's it. DreamWeb. I wanted to talk about this game because I was fascinated by its potential. Just a shame that it couldn't deliver. But anyway, if you liked the video, please leave a like, a comment, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I want to give a special thanks to the dungeon dwellers who support this channel on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. If you'd like to join them, you can click the Patreon link in the description, or you can hit the join button on this page for a YouTube membership. Everyone gets to watch videos before they go public on YouTube and get posts about the videos. If you donate $5 or more, you get your name read out loud at the end of videos like these Dungeon Architects, Benifer 94, Goats and Goblins, Half HP, High Food Court, Izzy Lexus, Justin Darnell, Meridian, Nekot the Brave, Stefano Urenia, and Tentabat, as well as these dungeon connoisseurs: Adon, Anjin01, Bunzo, Churm Slurm, Chiral Spiral, Crippler Jones, David Carr, Dazed Clockwork, Dika Diko, Glitterthroat, Indigo Happy, Irregular Rob, Gemma, Joshua Weber, Minced Meat, Mr. Independent, Nicolas Polstar, Noel the Monkey, Old Dead Lemons, Please Keep Making Videos, Pretty Cody, Prince Goof, Rainbows 98, Rez, Ribbon Black, Samuel Pandiangan, Samurai 85X, Solar, True Axiom, Tuesday Twin, TV's Brent, Warrior Song, Where Am I? Help, and Zach Diedrich. Thank you all for your support, and thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time. For now, DreamWeb. Check it out. Dungeon Chill. Out.